So let's begin with today's class. So first we shall see clearly we want to know about the differences between Spark and Pyspark. Okay. I hope you can see my screen. So before studying Pyspark, you should know clearly what is the difference between Spark and Pyspark and what is exactly Spark and what is exactly Pyspark. Okay. Compare. You have to compare. Okay. So what is Spark? So Spark or Apache Spark both are same. So Apache Spark is a big data processing engine. Okay, you just need to know it is a big data processing engine. Okay, so what it does, it will process your data. So whatever the data processing you were doing so far in NumPy and Pandas, that was not enough for your big data. So that means if your data is having in terms of GBs and TBs, these NumPy pandas and all are not enough. Okay, so we need to have some powerful tool. So that's why we go for Apache Spark. Okay, and it is written in Scala. So in which language Apache Spark is there? Apache Spark is written in Scala. So Scala is a language. Okay. Scala is also a language just like any other programming language. So Apache Spark is basically written in Scala. And where it runs, where Apache Spark runs, it runs on JVM. Okay. JVM is nothing but Java Virtual Machine. Okay. So before you start working with the Spark and PySpark, you need to have Java installed in your system. Okay, so without Java, you cannot run the Spark or PySpark code. Okay, so make sure in the initial class only I have told you what are the steps. Okay, first step is you have to install Java. Second step is you have to install the PySpark. Okay, then you can be able to create the Spark session and everything. So these two are mandatory, installing Java and installing the PySpark. Okay, so Apache Spark runs where? It runs on JVM. So since it runs on JVM, we want this Java to be installed in our system. Java ಇಲ್ದೇನೆ ನೀವು ಏನು Spark ಅನ್ನ run ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. So you cannot run. So it also supports multiple languages. It supports Scala, Java, Python, R. These languages it will support. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಯಾವುದು PySpark ಅಂದ್ರೆ with Python. We are using Apache Spark with Python. Okay. So you can also use it with Scala also. It is written in Scala. You can use it in Scala language also. So that will be more better. But here we are using it with which language? Python language. Okay, we are using Apache Spark in Python. So what are the key facts of this Spark? So one thing is it is open source distributed computing. So why we use this? It is used for the distributed computing. What is this distributed computing? So far what you are doing is just a single processor computing. Okay, you are doing data cleaning, you are doing something numpy pandas everything. There you are using what? Single system, single machine. So there only you are doing all the processing. But here it is distributed to different systems because single system is not enough. Single system is not enough. That's why we are making use of distributed systems. So we can make use of different laptops connected together. We can make use of different desktops connected together. Or if you don't have multiple systems, don't worry. In single system only, you can have multiple CPU cores, right? You have quad core, you have octa core. So in that only you can distribute and run your tasks. Okay. So that is what distributed computing means. You are dividing your task to the different systems or different CPU cores so that it will be processed very fastly. Okay. So it uses in-memory processing and it is 100 times faster than Hadoop. So earlier we were using Hadoop. So here this Spark is 100 times faster than the Hadoop. Okay. So it is used by many companies like Netflix, Uber, Airbnb. All these companies use the Spark. Okay. It handles GBs to PBs of data. Your NumPy and Pandas does not process GBs to PBs of data. Here the Spark is having capability to process GBs to PBs, petabytes of data. Okay, such a large data it can process. Okay, so that's why here in big data processing, Spark plays very important role. Okay, then what is Pyspark? Now coming to Pyspark. Okay, so Pyspark is nothing but Python API for Apache Spark. Okay, so Pyspark is a Python API. So it lets Python developers to use the power of the Apache Spark. So if you want to use Apache Spark, you cannot directly use it. Okay, you need some API for that. So that API is given by Pyspark. So Pyspark is the Python API which allows you to work with the Apache Spark. Okay. So without learning Scala, you need not learn Scala. If you learn Python, that is enough. You can use Python also with the Apache Spark. You can, even though you can use Scala also, but here we are using Python. Okay. Then, so it is used for what? Data analytics and big data. So big data, when it comes to big data, Spark comes to the picture there. Okay. So it is widely used in data analytics, machine learning pipelines and big data processing jobs. So wherever you have so much of data, Spark comes there. Okay, for your rescue. So it communicates with the JVM. So as I told you earlier, Python code communicates with the underlying Spark JVM engine. So the Spark always runs on the JVM engine. It needs JVM to run. If you don't provide JVM, Spark will not run. Okay. So it combines Python simplicity with the Spark's power. So Python, we know Python is very simple programming language. So with this simple programming language, we can interact with the Spark. We can explore the power of the Spark. Okay, these are the properties of Pyspark. Then coming to the difference between Spark and Pyspark. So Spark is a core engine. Okay. Pyspark is the interface. So this is the interface which allows us to use the core engine Spark. Okay. Then Spark is written in Scala. Pyspark is written in Python. Pyspark is one of the module library in Python, right? So that is obviously written in Python. Spark is written in Scala. Okay, and Spark runs on JVM. PySpark communicates with the JVM. So since Spark is there in the JVM, Python should communicate with what? JVM in order to access the Spark. So Spark will have direct API access. PySpark is lighter, slower than the Scala. So if you compare Python and this PySpark and Scala, so if you are using instead of PySpark, if you are using Scala, there you have little bit fast processing. That difference is very small, negligible, but there is a difference in processing. So Spark is faster in Scala and PySpark is easier for Python developers. Okay, so these are the differences. So you just know one point. Spark is the engine, main engine which runs on JVM, and PySpark allows us to communicate with the Spark. That is a simple funda you need to know. Okay. So it is like a engine, car engine. Spark is like a engine, the core processing engine. It is very powerful, it is very fast, it is written in Scala and runs on JVM. When you come to PySpark, it is a steering wheel for to use the Spark. So the Python interface, same engine, under the hood just controlled via Python. That means for the same engine, you can have different accessories, different steering wheels, different outlook. Engine will be same. So that engine is considered as spark, and this steering wheel, some other accessories, they are considered as the Pyspark. So they allow us to access the engine. So Pyspark allow you to access the engine. Okay, spark. Okay. So that is how you have to imagine. Yeah, for example, I'll give you another thing. You have one stove, right? Stove will be same, but on that stove you are cooking different items. So whatever you cook, you have to cook on the same stove, but different recipes you are going to cook. In the same way here also, on the spark only you have to do, but you can use Pyspark, you can use another language, you can use Scala, you can use R language, whatever language you are using. But finally you are accessing the Spark engine only. Okay, but here since we are concentrating on Python, we are using what? Pyspark. If you don't want Pyspark, go for Scala. If you don't want Scala, you can go for R. You can go for Java. So you have multiple options. So here we are choosing Pyspark. Okay. So technical, when it comes to technical difference, we know that Spark runs inside JVM, Python code runs outside the JVM. So Python code, this PySpark helps you to access the JVM. Okay, and it is faster in Scala. It calls JVM internally. So it has direct API access. It is slower than Scala. It is repeated. When it comes to industry usage, okay, 70 to 80% big data jobs use PySpark. Okay, 70 to 80%. So here in industry they have this Scala team and they have Python team. Python teams use PySpark. Scala teams, they can use Spark directly because Spark is written in Scala. It is like you are growing rice in India, you can access it directly. But other countries who don't grow rice, they have to export. I need to export and they need to import. Then only they can use it. Okay, it is something like that. I can access it directly because it is written in Scala. But other Python users, if they want, they have to use PySpark. But in Scala, I don't want anything to access the Spark because it is already written in Scala. But if you are using Python, you need PySpark to access the Spark. Okay. So it depends on what language you are using. If you are using Python, you need PySpark. If you are using Scala, you don't need anything. Okay, you can directly use it. So most companies, they prefer PySpark only because as the Python is trending, so everybody is learning Python, it has huge number of libraries, then it is better they go with the PySpark only. Scala is having a limited number of users, developers. So that's why PySpark is very preferable when it comes to industry usage. When you compare the code, Scala and Python. So it is very minute difference, nothing much difference is there. Okay, same spark.read.csv, data.csv you are trying to read and you are displaying. Both in Scala also and PySpark also. But what is the difference? In Scala you are just declaring it as val_df, value df, just like your data types, int a, int b you do know. So in the same way, Python does not allow you to declare the data types. So that's why we don't use data types in Python, int, float. Just we take a is equal to 10, that's it. We don't specify any data types. But in Scala, it is not like that. It may be some different scenario. So that's why they have taken val_df. Just like int, float, something like that you can consider. So the code, when it comes to code, there is very minute difference, not very much difference. Okay, any language you consider, you can go with it. Okay. So this is the native Scala API. It runs directly on JVM and it is having maximum performance as compared to PySpark. Okay. When it comes to this PySpark, it is Python API. It is having very familiar syntax as compared to Scala and it also communicates with JVM and it is easy for Python developers to handle this PySpark. Okay. So since you know Python, you might feel it very easy. PySpark you can learn easily. Okay. Compared to other persons. Okay. The difference is that this code what you are writing in Scala, that runs directly on the JVM. Okay, but the code what you are writing in Pyspark, that communicates with JVM indirectly. Okay, so this is the main difference. When it comes to performance difference, Scala Spark, so it is having 95% if you consider, okay, because it runs in the native JVM, okay. But PySpark, it is having some kind, little bit less, 88%. So there is a small overhead from Python. Since it is indirectly accessing it, there is some overhead. So that's why we can consider it around 88%. So there is only uh, plus or minus 5% difference you have. So 5 to 10% you can consider. Okay, not more than that. When it comes to speed, when it comes to performance, okay, there is a very little bit negligible differences there. Okay, either you can go with Scala Spark or PySpark. Choice is yours, but there is no much difference. Okay. So for the most real world project, so the performance between Spark and PySpark is very minimal. Okay, so there is no much difference. So this completes introduction about Spark and PySpark.